All right, what's up guys? Today I'm gonna show you guys how to do a mid-high skin fade on very coarse hair. And today we're gonna be keeping most of the weight around this area. We don't wanna go too round, but we're definitely going very short on top for this particular haircut. And we may do some beard work and fade it up into the haircut. First thing we wanna do is start off by debulking most of this hair, just so I can put a nice skin line into the fade. You will see sometimes barbers will go ahead and punch their skin line in now. I do not like to do that because it gives you an inaccurate read on exactly where your skin line is. So like now, if I was going ahead to go and start punching in now through this very thick hair, the line is not as visible as it would be if I had a lower length like a number 1 or number 2, and it'd be much easier to go ahead and punch that line. And you guys see I tapped it a couple times and it was kind of hard for my trimmer to go through. Just like to make my job easier and go ahead and get rid of the hairs that we technically do not need. And you can see now, if I was to put a skin line after putting this number 2, it's more promising and much more approachable than it is with all the hair surrounded around. So I know I am debulking in this phase of the haircut, but I'm also, while I have this number 2 guard on, thinking about what else could I be doing. And that's kind of blending the hair into the top just a little bit while we're debulking. And now that I'm going to blend, I open the clipper up and now we're blending into the top. I'm just gonna go around now to the back. I'm gonna use the open blade to blend and close the clipper up and use that to debulk. The reason why you won't debulk with the clipper open is because it could potentially snag. And number 2, you gotta think of what you're actually doing with the clipper in each setting. Like there's a reason that the clipper has setting, and they're all used for a certain thing. The open is used to blend and fade conservatively, and when you close that clipper up, it's going to be closer and sharper than it is open, so that's going to easily just glide through the hair. It's not as easy to put our skin line in. We're going to go just back to the side just so we can stay consistent. I'm going to make a mark here in the back, and that's usually where I like to put my skin line at anyway. I would just want to show you guys on the side how and when I would do it and why I do it, but start here in the back just so we can have a nice guide to work to. And so now we just have to pick a point to end to. We're doing a medium high fade. We're just gonna go to this point here and get rid of his C-cups. We have our point on that side, starting off our previous guide. And taking away the excess hair. We're gonna go 1 measurement shorter. We're gonna switch to our shaver, and we're gonna take this just 1 step closer, making it completely bald. This is gonna give you the effect of a razor would with a quicker result. So again, I'm gonna essentially look at this like debulking. I'm gonna debulk most of the hair that we need to cut, which is pretty much in this. So now that we pretty much set ourselves up for success with our lightest point and our darkest point, we're gonna go through and set up each level of the fade and then blend them all back together. So first we're gonna start using our famous 3-finger technique to make sure we have enough room for this haircut, with this being our blade open area, this being our number 1 section, and this being our number 2 section. If you guys remember at the beginning of the haircut, we used the number 2 guard to debulk as well as to blend up into the top. Blade open, fingers length. All right, so now we blade open, and we're gonna work all the way around the chair instead of working just section by section. I like working section by section when I'm trying to hyper focus or I'm in a teaching element. That way I can show the fade process over and over again using the 4 different panels. But when it comes to efficient hair cutting, I don't do that because you constantly have to put guards back on and back off again. Our goal and our job with this fading system that we're using today is to quickly see how the hair is going to react to us. So we're passing every measurement through his hair. We pass the blade open, and we can see it's still kind of faint, kind of light. But this 1 guard is still kind of giving the illusion of darkness because he has really thick and really coarse hair. So that just means when, if we're trying to create the illusion of a high fade, we may have to use our half guard or the blade open to kind of feather into these darker parts a bit to get our desired look. But you quickly learn that using this process instead of working in one section and realizing the measurement that you use looks different in other areas. We go ahead and find out all the information now. And now switching to our 1.5 guard, because we know we left off with our 2. And we're gonna go blade open and feather into that 2 guard. Okay, now that we made it around fully with our 1.5 guard, we can see on this right side, we have just a little bit of overhang here. This is only because this is the side that the client likes to wear his hair to, so there's gonna be a little extra length there. All you simply have to do is either A, you can go back to that number 2 guard and feather yourself in, or you can grab your clipper comb and bring it straight off the head and just cut all the excess off. We can simply just start working our way back down, starting with that 1.5 guard again and closing the clipper up. Going right under where we just left off. And now that we're blending, you can kind of open and close the clipper as needed, reacting to the hair one step at a time, and go back and attack right where we just left under. Whenever you don't hear the haircut anymore, it's time to move on to the next section. And see, we don't have any overhang on this side, so we just go straight into blending down. We don't have to use our clipper comb to knock anything away. Now down to our number 1 guard and starting open every single time that we're working our way down for a conservative approach. If you want a more aggressive approach, you could go closed and then work your way up to open. And now we're actually going to use that aggressive approach because we know that his hair reacts dark to this number 1 guard, and so our goal is to go ahead and lighten it up for our fade. I want to go ahead and start closed as opposed to open, so go ahead and get the hair light and then blend the darkness out. Depending on how comfortable you are with the hair, you can keep going aggressively with the clipper closed, or you can start off open. I'm going to go back to the conservative approach just because we're almost to the end of the fading process and I don't want to mess anything up. And just close the clipper little by little and drop underneath where you just left off. And we're using the aggressive approach. You start at the lowest point and work your way up to where you just left off. Nick is asking here in this haircut, do I always do this down fading technique? So for me with that question, there's 2 kind of ways to answer that. The process, we're definitely fading down. We made our initial guideline, our lightest point, and we established our darkest point. The approach we're using, we are going, fading down to a point. Now, in between these different levels, you can kind of choose whether you want to fade up to the dark point or fade down to the light point. I want to go ahead and make that bottom line disappear as fast as I can, so I'm going to go blade closed and go ahead and see if this helps my problem. And if not, I know that I have additional work to do after this step. Instead of me going from blade open to closed, thinking that I'm solving my problem, when I get down to the end, I realize that I still have to do an extra step. The whole idea, the whole goal, and the reason behind this process is to set yourself up and to know what we're doing and what's happening next. This blade close is doing very, very well, taking a ball line out, and I feel like it's because we prepped ourselves really well for it, using the shaver really well, not going all the way up to that line, and feathering out when we did. And so now I'm just comfortably moving through, controlling this lever, making sure we don't go too high into our fade. And now we're all the way blade open. And for the most of the part of the fade, especially the blended down portion, you don't want to use the full entire blade flat, because this is going to be about detailing and feathering in the hair to one another. So now we're just going to move through to our other sections, doing the same exact thing every single time. Go ahead and get rid of that ball guideline and working our way up. When I'm working in the blade section, I will use the blade closed, quarter of the way and halfway. I won't, and then all the way, yeah. I kind of break it up into four different parts. And we're on our last final panel here. Just take this line out and our fade will be done. Now we're just gonna jump into our beard just a little bit. I know we're taking it down to right around a 5 o'clock shadow. So I'm just gonna get a rough idea the same way we did when we're setting up our fade on the sides. We're gonna start with our blade open, just take it down just a bit, kind of see how it reacts, and if it gives us that 5 o'clock shadow look, and it does. So this is gonna be just enough length, just barely give us a nice outline right through here, and we're gonna fade this out. So I'm gonna start closing the situation, and you're pretty much just fading backwards. When you're doing the fade for a haircut, you start close or open, whichever one you decide, and you're going up into the hair. But for the beard, it's the same thing, but in reverse. And now, even working our way back up. So the reason that line was left faint really right here in this small area and not here is because remember we prepped our bald line here in this area with the shaver. In this part, we did not. We just used the trimmer, stamped that line in, and shaved right to that line. Back beard line here. But all I would say to them is if you know that the blade is close to be cutting, then just cut further back. For me in this instance, I'm doing it for comfortability, so. And don't forget to get the ears hairs if you already haven't done so. It's kind of that same ideology when putting the skin line. If I have to take hair down, I'm going to take the hair down to the length that it needs to be first, and then outline our shape of it. We're going to grab our very sharp razor. I find that normally when barbers cut and nick people, sometimes it's not even their technique, they're not using the proper tools. When I'm shaving, I like to use a very heavily weighted razor and also a pretty sharp blade. Now technique comes in, I'm gonna stress the skin very taut because the skin is free to move around if I don't, and that typically what causes the cuts and the nicks. So I'm just gonna make sure I have the skin very nice and tight. And I'm gonna start here at the top. This is where our beard line is going to end, and then kind of pinpoint where it's going to end here at the bottom. Stretch the skin, and now we have 2 points to work to. So now this excess here on top, I just like to take away with my trimmer, follow it with the shaver. You want to cut your hair, you should be in the neat technique I like to use. I'm going to lower the client's lip just a bit and come in with our shaver just to get little excess hair that the trimmer could not catch. But now I want to get a sharper line. For the mustache, I'm gonna use some Tomb 45 shave gel. It has aloe vera in it, so it actually cools the skin. Just gonna come behind with the razor and create our sharp line. But it's because I want to get the nice round shape here through his mustache and then bring it back out to the beard work we've done.
All right, guys, we got the Tomb 45 wireless charger mat. What made this so unique, this is actually what kind of revolutionized the whole barber game because it was like the first ever barber mat that gave you the capabilities of charging your clipper wirelessly. All it needs is a wireless adapter that fits the clipper that it coincides with. You place it on the mat and it charges wirelessly. No more messy wires around your station, on or around it. You have 4 independent charging slots, as well as an additional one that you can use for your either wireless air press compressor, or you can use it for your cell phone to charge while you're cutting. All right, just give you that peace of mind that your tools will be charged as well as your cell phone. Get yours today at tomb45.com.
Just want to start off with a little bit of water. Definitely want to make sure it's saturated so you have 100% control of where the hair is moving and flowing. You can comb and section however you want, as opposed to dry hair when the hair kind of just does what it wants. So we're gonna make a nice small section right here in the back and comb the bangs forward. Me and the client talked about the length that he would like to go. He told me relatively short. So that's about fingers length. It's about fingers length here. And we're gonna cut. Take a comb through section back and cut. And cut. And we're gonna stop right when we get back here to his dominant growth pattern. So make one more section and cut. Now what we're gonna do is we've established the finger length on the top of this haircut. Now we're gonna layer the bangs and transition the bangs into what we just cut. We're gonna take a small section of the bangs, only a comb's width, and our goal is to bring it back to what we just cut, so we blend them and layer them into each other. And bring it back to that finger's length and cut. Well, you still have the longer length towards the front, and then you have the finger length in the back. And so now what I want to do is make sure everything is perfect, going around the haircut, detailing, making sure everything blends into each other and layers into each other nicely. You could do clipper of a comb like I showed you guys earlier. You could do scissor of a comb like I'm showing you guys now. Take your comb, take it to the excess hair that you think needs to be cut off, and cut. And just even go a little in this back section here. Okay. We're just gonna rub a little bit of product in his hair just to bring out the cutting that we done, especially this front piece that we chose to layer into the back of his haircut. But when the hair is shorter like this, I just like to use my comb